If your perfect beach vacation involves sprawling resorts, chain restaurants, and outlet malls, you should probably forget about visiting Ocracoke Island, the Outer Banks' distant, weirder, and fiercely independent sibling. This isn't an island you just stumble upon. It's nestled at the far southern end of the Cape Hatteras National Seashore, and getting to Ocracoke requires a serious effort. It's a commitment, accessible only by a 2-hour drive through pretty much nothing, then another 1-hour ferry ride that serves as forced relaxation. The passenger ferry drops you off downtown, and I think it was about $7.50 a person, and it has to be reserved online and in advance. And they're sticklers for time. A little construction traffic jam forced us to miss it by about 3 minutes. Fortunately, there's also a free automobile ferry that runs about every 30 minutes or so. In high season, be prepared to line up for hours. We came pre-season, so we were able to drive right on. And to be honest, the ferry ride was the most exciting part of our visit to Ocracoke. You can get out of your vehicle and walk around, but there's not a whole lot to see or do, just water. It's nice, but I did see some bro in an old truck with a six-pack, but don't do that. There's state troopers around. Then, once the ferry finally arrives at the island, it's yet another 20-minute drive from the ferry to Ocracoke itself through miles and miles of undeveloped beach, courtesy of the Cape Hatteras National Seashore. No strip malls, no bars, no gas stations, no nothing. There are restrooms and vending machines near the ferry drop-off, but that's it until you hit town. There are the Ocracoke banker ponies on the way to the town. These are descendants of shipwrecked Spanish Mustangs, and they're now living their best lives in a giant pasture courtesy of the National Park Service. No touchy, looky only. Now, this little sandbar called Ocracoke has some serious street cred. Blackbeard the pirate loved this place so much, he made it his favorite hideout, and ultimately the place where he met his rather messy demise in 1718. So as you're sipping a craft beer at a local pub, wait, there are actually pubs there? Who knew? There might be some legit pirate ghosts hanging around. They're mostly friendly, we hear. Well, probably. The island's isolation also cooked up something you won't find anywhere else, the Ocracoke brogue. It's a really strange English dialect. It sounds like a toothless time traveler from Elizabethan England washed ashore and just decided to hang around. TBH, it's not too prevalent these days. The downtown area, Ocracoke Village, is wrapped around the picturesque Silver Lake Harbor. Now that's where the action is. Well, if you can call a collection of quirky art galleries, independent shops, and low-ceiling restaurants and renovated trailers action. The point is, there is no action in Ocracoke. It's incredibly boring. Even the tourists are old and slow. But that seems to be what makes it special. The preferred mode of transport here is a golf cart or a beach cruiser. It forces you to slow down to the mandatory speed limit of 20 miles an hour, which, in case you missed it, is the whole point of going on vacation. There is the Ocracoke Island Lighthouse, built in 1823, North Carolina's oldest operating lighthouse. But to add to the boredom, you can't climb it, and it's hard to get there. Summer is peak season, so be prepared to wait for ferries. The spring and fall are the sweet spots. Great weather, fewer crowds. It's the if you know time to visit. Many older folks will come and stay for a week or so at inns, B&Bs, and rental cottages with names like the Salty Dog. But book early, seriously. The island's not getting any bigger just because you waited until the last minute. Ocracoke isn't just a destination. It's a state of mind. It's for people who understand that the best part of a vacation is sometimes a whole lot of nothing.
does look like it, huh?